Hello, everyone, and welcome to our past paper solution sessions for Cambridge O Levels English Language 1123. And for the session today, we are going to practice to attempt paper number 2, which is our writing paper. The past paper that we are referring for this session is from the exam series of our May June 2024, and we are going to work with the variant one of our paper number 2. So before proceeding, let me give you a very quick recap about the structure. As far as the structure of this paper is concerned, so there are two sections in this paper. Section 1, directed writing question, where you would be given with the two text along with the one question. And in the question, you would be either asked to compose an informal piece of letter or an email, or a formal piece of a letter or email, a report, a magazine article, a speech, or a blog post. There is no room of choice in section number 1, which is directed writing. The Cambridge will give only one genre, and you have to fulfill that. As far as section B is concerned, so section B is basically our composition section. Here you would be having a choice between the descriptive and the narrative writing. Two topics would be given for the descriptive. One could be a description of the place, and the other could be a description of a person or an event. Two topics similarly would be given for the narrative writing. One would be a story writing, and the other one would be a third person or a first person narrative story, where you would be allocated to fit one particular line which would be given in the question. Each section is of 25 marks. So in total, this paper comprised of 50 marks, and the time that would be allocated for you to attempt this paper are good 2 hours. So let's proceed with attempting the paper. This is how your directed writing section may look like. You would be given two texts. As you can see, that text A is written by Hazima, who is a 14 years old girl, and the text B is written by Gianu, who is a 16-year-old boy. What is the structure of the text, and what is the purpose of the text that has been given in the directed writing section? The purpose of the text is to check your reading skills and evaluating skills. What is evaluation? Evaluation is when you are reading one particular piece of text, so you are easily able to understand the main idea, and you can develop that main idea further by adding your own opinion. So here, one text would be in favor of the particular topic, or the other text would be in opposition to it. So far, the exam series we have had, we are not receiving any sort of complex texts, right? The texts are quite very simple and straightforward. But in the syllabus, the examiner has mentioned that either both of the texts which would be given will be in opposite stance or in the same stance. As far as the same stance is concerned, so that means one particular perspective of the same stance would be given, and the other one would be more developed. For example, the one stance would be according to the perspective of a teenager, and the other would be according to the perspective of an adult person or an old person. As far as these texts are concerned, so these are totally in opposition. So before proceeding to read the text, first you need to pay attention to the question. The question will give you the instruction what you have to do. Here is a question on your screen. And the question is that your school is considering a ban on homework, and you decide to write a letter to your school principal. Write a letter to your school principal about whether or not you think homework should be banned. In your letter, evaluate the ideas and the opinions in both texts. Give your own views about the proposed ban based on what you have read in the text. The particular purpose that I asked you to read the question is that the question give you the understanding that what particular piece of response you are going to consider. We have three particular genres or the particular responding way. Number one, discursive. Number two, persuasive. And number two, argumentative. As far as the nature of this question is concerned, so this is a persuasive. And why it is a persuasive? Here you are being asked to give your views, right? So whenever in any sort of question you have been asked to give your views, so that means you have to persuade your reader with what you think. And the goal is to convince the principal of your opinion, either in the support or against the ban on the homework. So that means that you need to use persuasive language and reasoning to influence your principal's decision. As far as discursive and argumentative texts are considered, so discursive writing explores the multiple sides of an issue in a balanced way without taking a strong stance. And as far as argumentative writing is concerned, so argumentative writing is quite very similar to the persuasive, but often include more formal logic, evidence, and the counter arguments. So, since this is a letter to the principal expressing your views and trying to influence a decision, so it is clearly persuasive. Now, the next thing that you have to understand is that if it is a formal or an informal letter, it's a letter to a principal. So that means it's a formal letter, right? So that means that you are totally free to pick up your stance. You can either get agreed that the homework should be banned, or you can get agreed that homework should not be banned. Now, let's proceed with reading the texts. Hazima, 14 years old. I don't understand why teachers give us homework. I already have 35 hours per week of lessons, and my walk to school take 30 minutes. That is more hours and the longer commute that most adults have. Concentrating in school all day is tiring. When I come home, I want to relax, spend time on my hobbies, or do something creative, not spend hours doing more work. So in this paragraph, the first thing that the Hazima want to express is that a student is already having a very tiring life. They have to attend school for the good hours. Even after the school, they have been given with the homeworks. So as soon as they step back to home, they wanted to relax and they wanted to have a good quality time with their family. But if in case they have a bundle of the homework to do, so that means that they cannot spend the time with family and they cannot enjoy being the part of the family, right? So the first perspective of the Hazima is being cleared out in this first particular paragraph. This is the main idea that the Hazima wanted to express, that giving homework is just like burdenizing the student. So this is the idea that you have extracted. This is what your evaluation is. Now, moving forward with the second paragraph. Some students have a quite steady areas at home, but not everyone is so lucky. For me, it is difficult to concentrate while my sisters are fighting over the TV remote control or my dad is talking on the phone to one of his friends. I know that some students have a lot of support in doing their homework. For example, many students use the internet to find information they need, or they get help from their parents. But this isn't possible for everyone. The second perspective that the Hazima is presented in the text or the blog post is that uh, each and every student has not been allocated with all the particular or the same resources that are required to attempt the homework. Few people might have phone, few people might not have phone. At few homes, there might be the availability of the internet. At few homes, there might not be the availability of the internet. So that means if any research-based task has been given as a homework assignment, so it can be done only by the people who have an access to the internet. And those who have no access to the internet, they cannot do that research-based task. So this is the second idea which has been presented by Hazima. Now, moving forward, if we look at third paragraph, so also sitting down for hours in the evening after sitting down in the school all the day is unhealthy. We are always being told that we should be doing more physical activity, but there is no time to do it when we have so much homework. Here Hazima is expressing her critical thinking skills and connecting it with the physical outcomes of assigning the homework. Like if you are sitting for the good 5 hours or 6 hours in the school, and as soon as you come back home, again you are sitting for 2 or 3 hours just to do the homework. So that means that you are not having any sort of physical activity. You are just studying, studying, and studying. So the three ideas that has been presented by Hazima, they are in favor on the ban of homework. That means that she agrees that homework should not be given to the students. Now let's explore the Gianu's perspective. He says that I think it's really important for us to do the homework. It gave us the chance to make sure that we have fully understood all of the topics we have studied during our lessons in schools. The students who complete their homework learn more and therefore do better on their courses. I know my teachers give homework because they find it a useful way to check what students have understood in their lessons, and perhaps more importantly, they haven't understood. Gianu's perspective is aligning with the agreement that homework should be given. So Gianu says that there should be no ban on the homework because it's a good tool, and through this tool, teacher can analyze what is being understood by the student and what is not being understood by the student. The first idea that has been presented by him here. In his second paragraph, he mentions that the homework helps parents to know what their children are studying in school and means that they can support them with their learning. My parents often ask questions about what homework I have got and whether I need help with it, which I really appreciate. Here, he's presenting the home culture that few parents like to know that what exactly is happening with their kids at the school, what they have been taught with, and even they take the feedback about the homework if in case the homework is being assigned to the kid. So if the kid is having some sort of difficulty, so they sit with their children and help them to do the homework. In this way, the connection of the family become more stronger. Rather than having a family time in front of the TV, you can have a family time in doing your homework. This is the second idea that is being presented by him. In his third paragraph, he says that having homework help us to learn important skills. For example, how to balance our time between the schoolwork and the extracurricular activities like sports, music, or the other hobbies. This helps us to become more mature and disciplined and prepares us for adult life, which is, after all, the point of the school. According to his perception, if the homework is being assigned to a student, so the student would be able to have a good skill over the time management. Student will develop an ultimate understanding that how they are going to manage time once they are going to step into their professional fields, which is the third idea presented by him. Lastly, he's saying that I know that a lot of my classmates complain about getting homework and would rather spend time doing other things, but I really believe that it's an essential part of our learning. He is considering homework as an essential part and is standing totally against the idea. That means that homework should not be banned. So we have so far read two texts and evaluated the different ideas. One text is alignment of the agreement that the homework should be banned, and in the second part is the second text is an alignment that the homework should not be banned. Ideas we have extracted out. Now let's talk about the particular format we are going to follow as far as the examiner's requirement are concerned. So here you can see one instruction: begin your letter with dear principal and supply a suitable ending. That means that no typical structure of the letter is concerned. That means you're not going to provide any sort of uh, sender's address or the receiver address. You can directly start with the dear principal, but make sure to provide a subject line as it's a formal letter. So you are going to provide a subject line, right? So let me just quickly give you the format over here. So you're going to start with dear principal. I made a spelling error again. Yes. Then after leaving one line, you are going to add your subject line. In the subject line, you are going to express your purpose, like why are you writing this letter. Then you are going to start with your first paragraph. As far as the examiner's requirement are concerned, so the first paragraph is supposed to be an introduction, right? And as we are working with the formal letter, so that means that we are not at all going to convey the informal greeting to our principal. We are not going to ask our principal that, hey dude, how you have been doing? It's been ages that we haven't seen each other. Let's plan for hangout. You can convey some sort of formal greetings, right? You can even ask for the well-being. I hope that the letter finds you in the good state of health and spirits, right? Then in your introductory part, the examiner wants your purpose here. So you're going to add your purpose. Okay, why are you writing this letter, right? So in this way, your first paragraph is going to be fulfilled. Usually, the first paragraph is supposed to be a bit concise, right? Concise means that it can be only of 4 to 5 lines or 3 to 4 lines. So yes, this is totally fine. As soon as you are going to complete with your first paragraph, you're going to leave one line. Then you will start your main body. That is going to be your second paragraph, right? Now, your main body is going to align with your stance as it's a persuasive letter, right? So that means that you are going to take one stance. Either you are going to show your agreement to the ban or you're going to show your disagreement to the ban, right? How you're going to compose your second paragraph? You're going to apply the peel method. What is peel? It's a very common terminology. P stands for point. For example, you are saying that the homeworks are going to be banned, right? So Hazima's text would be your first target. The first idea that is being expressed by Hazima is that the students are already burdenized with the hectic schedule, right? So your point is going to be that students already have a hectic schedule. Now, you're going to develop this point. How? You're going to add your opinion. Like, do really the student have some sort of hectic schedule? You can give some sort of evidence. How do they have it? Hazima has talked about that in the text about the way students commute from their home to school and from home to from school to back to home. Plus, alongside the way they have been sitting in the home in the school. So rather than these evidence, you can pick up any other evidence from your real life because you all are students. So you know much better than me that how your lives are quite very hectic. Then with the relevant evidence, you are going to provide few particular examples. Sorry, not example, explanation, not few particular explanation, the evidence and the point that you have developed. In the explanation part, you can add your idea. You can develop your idea further, adding your own opinion, right? You have to make sure that all of these three elements are interlinked with each other. Then you are going to develop your third paragraph as soon as your second paragraph is going to be completed. So you would be leaving one line and then you are going to start your third paragraph. Again, this would be in alignment to your stance as it is your main body. So in the way you have used the first idea, in the second paragraph, you're going to use the second idea in the third paragraph. You're going to develop the idea by using the Peel methodology. As far as the limit of the paragraphs are concerned, so Cambridge has no restricted limit of the paragraph. You can make 20 paragraph, you can make 15, you can make 12, you can make 8 based on the points. As much as you can handle easily. Make sure do not make complex paragraph. Do not bump into so many ideas. Keep your paragraph simple. Just pick up one idea and develop it. Right? If you want to have the fourth paragraph, so you are going to have the fourth paragraph in the vice versa, then you are going to have the proper ending. In ending, you are going to restate your stance, or you can give recommendation for consideration, right? Either restate your stance or reinforce your ideas, and you may ask for the request to the principal, like what you want your principal to do after reading your whole entire letter, right? So this is how your actual plan should look like. And what I usually recommend to my candidate is that this sort of plan should be present in your answer script before proceeding to record your answer. Planning helps you to organize your composition. So that's why plan is necessary. One important thing that you need to keep in consideration from moving on to paragraph number 1 to 2 and from 2 to 3 and from 3 to 4, you have to make sure that your ideas are well connected. As far as the connection of the main ideas are concerned, so you can use the connection connectors. The most simplest connector that you can use are the numeric. In order to represent your first idea, you can use that firstly as soon as your second paragraph is completed and third paragraph is going to start. That means that you're technically introducing your second idea. So at the beginning of the paragraph, you can just simply use secondly with the comma. The usage of the firstly, secondly, and moreover, three simple connectors are going to be used, and the connection in your composition is going to be expressed. This is how simply you are going to compose your response to this question. Now, let's move to section number 2, which is your decomposition. As I have mentioned before, that you are going to have the particular choice to pick any one of the topic which are given over here. You would be given with the two topics for the descriptive and the two topics for the narrative. As far as descriptive writing is concerned, so let me be concise to explain both of these concepts in a very quick way. Descriptive means to show, and whenever you are showing something to your reader, so that means that you are providing all the particular details so that your reader can visualize the things that are in front of you. For example, your phone is being kept in front of you. I have no idea at all that what model of the phone you have, how your phone look like, what is the texture of your phone. So that means that you need to appeal my senses so that once I'm going to read your composition about your phone, so I would have a very clear vision, a visual picture of your phone in my mind. This is what simply the descriptives means. And as far as the narrative is concerned, so narrative is basically to tell. Narrative, the word narrative is taken from the word narrate, and when we are narrating, so that means we are telling. A narrative comprises of five particular elements. Number one, introduction. What we usually do in introduction, we introduce the character, we introduce the setting where the characters are, right? The second component, the second element of the narrative writing is rising action. Rising action is a particular phrase from where the things are going to, or things started to turn bad. it's just like a normal way, like each and everything in our life is going very smoothly, but as soon as something happened and the things turned bad, so rising action is in connection to it, right? After rising action, the third element of the narrative is basically the climax, right? Climax is the extreme point, or you can say the turning point of your whole entire story, the main actual problem. Then after climax, the next fourth element of the narrative is conflict, right? Sorry, resolution. Resolution means that how the character of your story involve to solve the problem that you have discussed in the part of the climax. Last element of the narrative is the conclusion. Conclusion means that with reference to this whole entire event, what impact has been made on the characters and what lesson has been learned. So either you are going with a descriptive or you are going with a narrative. You have to follow the particular structure that I have just discussed in a very concise way. So let's read the question. Question number two is of descriptive writing. It says that describe two different places where you and your family like to go, one of which is exciting and one of which is relaxing. So that means it's a description of a place. So you are going to give two examples of the places that you like most to go with your family. One place should be a place that is thrilling for you and your family, and the other place usually that people cater to go to relax. It can be some sort of farmhouse, and if as far as excitement is concerned, so it can be any sort of sports club, right? So you are going to provide the description of these two places. Remember, when we are working with the descriptive writing, so we usually do not give any sort of conclusion, right? We just describe the things by appealing to the sensory details of our reader. We use the vocabulary which is aligning with the sensory detail. We appeal to the senses of our reader. We appeal to the sense of sight. We appeal to the sense of smell. We appeal to the sense of hearing. We appeal to the sense of taste. And we appeal to the sense of feel. These are the five common senses of what we human usually have. So we have to make sure that whatever the places we are going to describe, the actual picture of the place is being displayed in our reader's mind. Moving on to the third question, which is our descriptive writing question. Describe the scene at a market or a bazaar just before it opens and during the busiest part of the day. Just before it opens, that means that usually when the markets open early in the morning, like around 9, as we are residing over here in Karachi, Pakistan, so usually markets over after 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in morning. So we all are well aware that as soon as the market opens, so the things are quite smooth, like there are no rush hours, there is no such crowd. Whatever you want to buy, you can go to the shop very easily, and you can have your shopping in a very relaxed way. There would be no one pushing you forward and backward. But as far as the busy hours are concerned, which are usually the office hours, like between 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, or in evening, like 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So these hours are basically known as the crowdy hours. People who are working in the offices, when they're coming back to their home, usually they stop at the nearby market to get their grocery done, to get their stuff being purchased, right? So you are going to describe the market in both of these scenarios. One thing that you can notice in both of the description is that the description this time is very complex. It's not a single description, it's a double description. So you need to make sure that both of the descriptions are going to be placed in a way that they are giving a logical flow and a proper understanding to visualize what you have experienced, right? As far as narrative writing question is concerned, so question number four says that write a story in which a message was not given to the correct person. This can be a suspense story, or this can be a horror story. One thing that I would like to discuss with you people, that when you're working with the narrative writing, so you need to make sure that you are not using any sort of violent content. The violent content is not recommended by the Cambridge Checker. Usually we checker reject your narrative if it is too much violent, right? Or we detect your marks. So the scenario that has been given to you over here is that it can be a first person narrative, right? Like you sent a message to your friend, but unfortunately it was delivered to someone else. If you want to make it a dramatic, so you can make it dramatic as well, right? For example, an accident occur on the road, and you cater the victim, the person who got injured, has been suffering with a severe injuries, and you took him to the hospital. And as soon as he was in the emergency room, you somehow went to contact the patient. All of a sudden, another same patient was brought who got expired in the same emergency room. And as soon as the relative of the victim that you have rescued arrived, so doctor gave the news to them that the person is expired, which was technically the other person. So this can be a wrong message, and in this way you can make it quite very dramatic. As far as the last narrative is concerned, so this is again about writing a story. That write a story which includes a sentence that it was clear that the time was running out, so we had to try something different. Okay, one thing that you need to keep in your mind is that whatever the line is being given in this sort of question, the line is quite very crucial. Sometimes they give you a line that can be best fit in the beginning of the story. Sometimes they give you a line that can be best fit somewhere in the middle of the story before introducing the climax or during the climax. And sometimes the line that they give you can be best fit at the ending, the conclusion part of your story. So you have to make sure that you have understood that particular sentence or the line that has been given to you. As far as this line is concerned, so this is somehow laying very close in your climax section, right after expressing your rising action, you can use this line. And as far as the strategy to use this line in the story is concerned, so it is so far recommended that if you are using the same exact sentence, so you are going to quote it down with a different pen. For example, if your whole entire response is with a dark blue pen, so use a black pen wherever you're going to use this line. So far, you're going to plan your choice. What I usually recommend my candidates that if you feel confident enough that you can provide good sensory details, so then you can go with the descriptive writing. But if you feel or if you face a lack of confidence and you feel like that you cannot be able or you would not be able to provide enough sensory detail for the descriptive, so better to go with the narrative, because in narrative these sort of sensory details are not being penalized, but for descriptive they are. There are few chances for the deduction of the marks on the basis of the sensory details. Sometimes it feel like the sensory details that we are using are quite necessary at that particular point, and few particular point providing sensory details were not being enough. This is what we think while we're composing a descriptive essay. But when it comes with the checking, so the checker come up with a different perception, right? So you can plan your composition according to the instruction that I have shared with you. The plan for the directed writing part is right there on your screens, and you can work accordingly and you can practice for both of these tasks. All the crucial impact I have so far shared, and as far as the level marking are concerned, so my other lectures are available which are aligning with the level descriptors, which will give you a very clear guideline like what are the particular things that you need to keep in focus to achieve the better grades. Thank you so very much and happy learning.